divide us by our color, they divide us by our tongue. They divide us men and women, they divide us old and young. But they'll tremble at our voices when they hear their verses sung. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. They have taken untold millions that they never toiled to earn. But without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel would turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union is strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. What force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
One more time.
Solidarity forever. Everyone. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
One more? Are we going to have Helen come up? One more. All right. Okay, this one everybody should know. If you know ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Sing along. And we're gonna do no, just for the words, I'll shout them out though, no politics, no racism, and no ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance and other things going on these days.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom land.
No politics.
Ain't gonna let no politics turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no politics turn me around. I'm gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom land.
No racism.
I ain't gonna let no racism turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no racism turn me around. Gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching on to freedom land.
And no ignorance.
Ain't gonna let no ignorance turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let no ignorance turn us around. We're gonna keep on a-walking, keep on a-talking, marching up to freedom land.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome, the amazing Helen.
Hi. I'm serving as MC today for some reason. I have been regretting that all day, but I am here now. We are here now. Thank you. First of all, thank you to Nikki and Michael. Every time I hear Solidarity Forever, I don't know, hi Bill, I don't know if other folks get like this, but I get tears in my eyes every time I hear Solidarity Forever. But that might be me. There's been a lot of organizing lately, and these labor fights are maybe more meaningful than they've ever been in my lifetime. Okay, so yesterday was the kickoff to Solidarity City. Who was here yesterday? Okay, I see Abby, I see Bill. I would like to get a couple of people to shout out their favorite parts of yesterday's kickoff. Who wants to shout it out? Home on the Range or Doge on the Range? What's it called? What's the song called? Doge is to blame. Okay, I should know because we were singing it outside the Office of Personnel Management for a whole week. What else was great about yesterday? DJ Sid, the dance party that we had with like 6 people. That was very necessary after many weeks of planning. What else was great about yesterday? The spoken word artist. Who remembers their name? Beyond Your Definition. Anyone else? Okay, who was here earlier today? Anyone? I don't know your name. Chris. Okay. So did you see part of the medical debt presentation? Did you learn anything good that you want to share with us? Oh, do you want to say more about that? Okay, well, the good news is Erie is going to be back, I believe, next week, so we can all learn about medical debt. Was anyone here for the yoga and mindfulness session this morning? No, okay. Well, good news. Tomorrow, yours truly is teaching a fascial release class, which has some similarities with yoga, but it's sort of for grandparents. So if you're here at 10, please show up to that. I just bought a bunch of tennis balls that we will be using. Okay, I could ramble on, but I think I'll do that later and not waste Sam's time. I'm very excited that Sam Epps is here with us. Sam is the president of the DC Central Labor Council, and he's been in that position for about a year. As you can tell from his hat, before that, he was the political director of Unite Here, which is a very powerful local union, and I'm hoping that he tells us a bit about the fights that they're facing in the area. Yeah, Sam has been everywhere lately. I'm sure you're as busy as some of us, or even more so. One thing I really appreciate, Sam, is that as a now former federal unionist, he has showed up in many, many places that we have asked him to. Obviously, federal workers are under attack, and we've been asking leaders in the labor movement to stand with us, and Sam is one of the ones who has. So we really appreciate you, and please clap it up for Sam.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Helen, for that introduction. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, siblings and allies of Solidarity City. I'm honored to be here with each one of you in this space, in this convening of purpose, learning, and action. Are there any union members here? I heard Helen just tell me she was a federal worker. So any other union members in the house? Absolutely. Woo. Brand new. Okay. What union? The News Guild. The Guild. Absolutely. Which is a member of our Central Labor Council. Let me introduce the council to you. It's the Metropolitan Washington Council, representing 150 affiliates here in D.C. Prince George's County, Maryland, Montgomery County, and the 3 southern Maryland counties. We have over 150 affiliates and 150 members across many different unions, from hotel workers to transit workers to teachers to iron workers to electricians, of course our teachers, firefighters. So we are I am here on behalf of the Washington Metropolitan Council. My local is Unite Here Local 25, the hospitality workers here in the city. I'll tell you a little bit about them, but I have been with Local 25 now going on 12 years now with the local. So, you know, there has never been a more serious moment that we are collectively called on to meet. Since January, we all have witnessed unprecedented and frequently unlawful attacks on federal workers and unions nationwide, as well as our immigrant neighbors, students, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, healthcare access, the rights of LGBTQ individuals, on research on our constitutional rights, and federal agencies that serve million Americans. Unions have been at the forefront of fighting back. Federal workers have filed dozens of lawsuits that have stopped harmful action of this administration. They have mobilized at an incredible speed to protect current workers, as this administration has weaponized chaos and fear to advance their agenda. Unions have vocally and visibly stood on the side of workers. That makes a meaningful difference when alternative is silent, and we won't be silenced. This makes a meaningful difference. It makes a meaningful difference to everyone. And federal workers are now joining unions at an incredible rate as part of how we collectively meet this moment. It's just been unbelievable what AFGE has been able to do, and all of the other federal unions have been able to do in the midst of rights being just stripped away with an executive order. But they have continued to organize. But that's also telling you the moment that we're in with individuals. They are fighting back. They're standing up to this chaos. So amid everything happening at the federal level, unions in the region have organized powerful victories this past year, from new recognition. For example, my local has, over the last 2 years in the private sector, has organized over 9 hotels in the midst of an organizing fight. Hopefully you'll get to hear some of their stories, and those workers who are organizing in 5 of the top 10 restaurants here in Washington, D.C., Star, Knightsbridge, and those workers are currently doing that. Teachers in the city has won a 5-year contract here in the city that we are working to keep in place if this Congress will let us spend our own local dollars here in D.C., which is very important for both our firefighters and our teachers and our police officers, but also for all of our workers who are in the ecosystem, that I call it, of D.C., providing services locally here in the District of Columbia. And from the new recognitions to securing new contracts, better pay, benefits, and much more. The affiliate unions in our region across many industries have been delivering for workers in our family, and we know this will continue in the year ahead here. And in the labor movement, that song, there's one word that is more important to us more than just any other one, and it is, we use it to open up meetings, close meetings, say farewell. You see it on posters, you see it right here. Right now, and that word is solidarity, right? And solidarity means unity or an agreement of feeling, especially among individuals with common interests. It means to be in partnership with one another. And as Helen said, it's easy for me to show up, and it's also easy for our council to be involved in events like this. throughout the week because it's solidarity. It is how we're going to be able to get through and push back and fight and win. We will win this. In the darkest times, it looks dark now, but the light is coming, and us continuing to fight with Solidarity City here and the programming that you are doing is just one of the great ways that we would like to participate and help organize and help grow not only the movement, but also working families in this city and in this region. This idea is at the very heart of the labor movement and every labor struggle. A union is what happens when workers decide that working together will bring them benefit in addition to working for the employer. Solidarity is at the every heart of every movement for justice. From civil rights movement to the freedom movements, around the world movements have begun through solidarity, and they have been won. When individual people recognize that we have a common interest and we decide to work together for it. Solidarity is our power right now. In this space, you're organizing around a dozens of issues, from immigration, home rule, LGBTQ, and much more. Debt crisis that I just heard. These movements are all interconnected. It's crucial for us to recognize that an injury to one is an injury to all. And the people in power want us to be divided and afraid. And that's how they won. Solidarity is more than just a value. It's a strategy that we need to use now to win. Yeah. And there are a few things that you must do in order for that strategy to work. The first is we must begin to build trust among each other here in the movement. As we move through this Solidarity City, we must talk to people around us that are not here, ask questions, figure out what we have in common. And then the second is we need to get information. As you heard, from many of the programming, you all need to find an organizing home, right? It may be a union. It may be in your community. It may be the PTA. It may be some organization that you must lead and become involved in and organize. So I would say you need to find an organizing home. And solidarity works best at scale, and we need to do this everywhere, every single day, in the months ahead that we have here. And this is just the beginning here in Solidarity City. And one of those formations might be organizing your workplace into a union. Unions are solidarity in motion, and the labor movement has been organizing for decades. So when times like this happen, we don't need to get ready. We've been ready. And because we know that each one of you are not just workers, we are black workers, we are immigrant workers, we are trans workers, we're LGBT workers, we're women workers, we're government workers, we're private sector workers, we're students. No, we are all partners. We have parents, children, and we all are beloved community members, each one of us. And we have a shared interest right now to protect one another and to fight for a better future. It's on all of us, each one of us here today, to be part of that. And solidarity is our power when we recognize that there is so much more we can do together. Together is solidarity. We must strategize, mobilize, and unify against bullies who have threatened our democracy, our civil rights, our climate, our body autonomy, our health care, our public institutions, our federal workforce, DC home rule, and the list goes on and on. And so I'm just so glad to be here with you today, and I just want to leave you with a quote from the president of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier. And the quote is, "We need democracy, but right now, democracy needs us." It needs self-assured citizens who have the confidence and drive, common sense, and decency, and who shows solidarity with others. And so we know when we have solidarity, you know, there's a saying in our movement: when we fight, when we fight, when we fight. Thank you all. Solidarity forever. Thank you.
Okay, another round of applause for Sam, please. My favorite part of that speech was his advice to find an organizing home. We are more powerful when we work together, right? Like that much is obvious. I think about everything my fellow federal workers and I have done over the last few months, some of which I talked about last night. If it were just me alone, it wouldn't mean much. But when we go to the Senate, you know, all 75 of us, then we can hit up a lot of Senate offices. We can get on CNN. It's very different. Some of the best advice I've heard when folks are asking, like, what do we do in this moment, right? A lot of people are wondering, what do we do? And they ask people like us because we're the organizers. Whatever you do it with someone else, right? Do it in a group. Do it in an organization. Either join an organization, you can create your own organization like the Federal Unionist Network, but don't do it alone. Okay, I think it's time for working group updates, and y'all know this was coming. So I can give an update for the communications working group, and then I'm gonna, you know, basically call on someone until someone is willing to come up here and give updates for the other working groups. So, communications news. Solidarity City has gotten offers to do podcasts on WPFW, which is the local not-for-profit radio station. So that's very exciting. It's our first media hits. I mean, they're coming. We have to figure out. Oh, hi, Suzanne. We have to figure out who's doing it, but you know, we'll let you know, and you can check us out there. My big exciting news of the day is that we hit over 500 Instagram followers, which, considering we had 0 maybe a week ago, that's pretty good, I think. And yeah, thank you. What's that? Good. So finally getting Bill Reagan on Instagram. That's all I wanted out of my life, honestly. All right, Solidarity City DC. That's on both Instagram and Blue Sky. And for extra points, you can follow Feds Work for You on TikTok and also Instagram and Blue Sky. But if that's too much, that's okay. Okay, that is the communications update. Can I call on someone to do a logistics update? Maybe Patrick or someone else? Anne, who wants to do a logistics update? You need a call for volunteers. So why don't you come up and do that? Patrick, you're next.
Testing. Oh, so as Helen indicated, we need volunteers big time. We're kind of, you know, I don't know what you call it, scrapping along, because we always do when we do stuff, and it's fine-ish, but we need a lot more people to come in as volunteers. We do have a sign-up that originally you were accessing through the website itself and then getting invited to sign up. At this point, because honestly, we were a little concerned about like randos and people who might be wanting to cause trouble coming through. But if you know people or you're in vetted signal threads or chat threads, I'll be over here with that sign-up link to share with you. Super easy. And also, like, people should know, like, they don't have to sign up for the same thing every time. They could do gear one day. They could do welcome tent. It's all valuable. We need people. We welcome people. And it's kind of fun. Like, I hung out with volunteers today. It is very fun. This whole thing is fun. And so, yeah, and you know, Helen was talking about don't do it by yourself. when you meet other people, and particularly when you do tasks together, even if it's not like, a big deal, but like that is how you connect with people, and that is how you start organizing. That's how I got into it. And everybody here is just welcoming and wants to meet you. So blah, 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 blah. My update is that I kind of swung in and started, I feel like some of our handoff processes and our communication processes and onboarding around volunteers could be improved. So being here, I kind of see that. I'm trying to fill in those gaps, because the other thing about people who volunteer, we want them to have a good experience, and then we want them to feel valued, and we want them to come back. So I guess that's my little spiel. Questions?
You have questions? Talk to Anne.
Yeah, and come see me for that link.
Thank you, Anne. And I'm going to call on Patrick. So apparently our logistics are so good that they don't even need to be talked about, but Patrick is going to tell us about programming that we have coming up. That was logistics.
Awesome. So we're here for 21 days. There are collectively around 350 hours of programming that our programming team has been working very hard to fill. And one of the challenges is that sometimes there's a lot of people here and sometimes there's not a lot of people here. And it's been so exciting to see folks figure out how to have a good session with the 3 people who showed up, or also have a good session with the 75 people who showed up. And sometimes it's hard to predict that. We have some cool stuff that is coming up in the coming days. So tomorrow night, Reverend Liz Theo-Harris, the co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, is going to be here on this stage. And probably Greenpeace will be here on this stage, talking about how we collectively respond to whatever Earth Day shenanigans the Trump-Musk administration comes up with that we're all concerned about. And in the evening, Son of La Lucha music workshop is happening. So those are the kind of the main stage things that are happening. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, we're going to get an awesome workshop on when the paycheck ends, particularly useful for federal workers who have had their paychecks end, and a letter writing for political prisoners. Throughout the entire week, we have in the morning kind of a roundup session with some song and some updates. We've got this evening session. The 10 o'clock hour it was going to be fitness, and somebody suggested a jog, and there was a collective revolt against the possibility of a jog. So now it's wellness. We're doing meditation. We're doing fascia release tomorrow. We're doing yoga at the 10 o'clock hour. At noon, there are actions just about every day, because at noon in Washington, D.C., there's an action just about every day. Tomorrow, the National Coalition for the Homeless is going to be over on the front lawn of the Capitol at 12 noon. Then at 2 o'clock, we have skills-based training. 3:30, we have resources for people who are displaced workers. At 5 o'clock, we have political education. And then 7 o'clock, this is our kind of headline program of the day, where we have some songs, we hear from some interesting people, and then at 8:30 we have a little bit of fun. So there's a lot on the calendar. You can check out the calendar at solidaritycity.org. There's all the events that are confirmed are up there. And if you have an idea for an event, especially if you have an idea for an event that is fun and participatory, like a spades night, Makia is going to be planning a spades night sometime soon. There's a form on the website. You just say what you want to do, when you want to do it, and what you need, and we will get you set up to make it happen. The one other plug I'll give is that Nikki and Bailey from the Movement Music Project and many other projects that involve singing have been doing an amazing job of recruiting song leaders to fill out these main moments. A lot of times in our movements, we think of art and cultural work and joy as an afterthought, and we wanted to be really deliberate about weaving it in as part of every single day, every single one of our main programs and sessions. So if you are a song leader and an aspiring song leader, you know a song leader, talk with Nikki about getting on the rotation so Nikki and Bailey don't have to be here themselves every day, even though I'm sure they will be here every single day. So that's what we got for programming. We can imagine that this, the momentum of this project will continue to grow day after day, especially as right now Congress is out of session. Congress is coming back next week. There's going to be lots of opportunities to go have conversations with those motherfuckers, and maybe some of them will want to come and give us some words of encouragement in their less we're gonna continue to see this grow over the next 3 weeks, and if you got an idea for something interesting to do with a group of people, we got 350 hours to fill. So that's it.
That was super comprehensive. Thank you, Patrick. And literally, like, you can schedule anything. My 13-year-old friend wanted to do a clothing swap, so we're doing a clothing swap on Sunday from 12 to 2, and it'll be really fun, and you should come. I'm going to hand it back over to the amazing Nikki for maybe the flagship song of the moment, Doja's to Blame.
All right, I think a couple of people know this. Going to teach the chorus, and if you want to, apologize, I don't have the lyrics here with me, but if you go to movementinfrastructureproject.org/music, we have a little page there and a pamphlet that does have the words to the song in it. All right, so repeat after me. Doge is to blame. Doge is to blame. I know people know well. For this mess that they cannot contain. For this mess that they cannot contain. Under cover of night, they tried to take all our rights. They tried to take all our rights. But we won't back down without a fight. But we won't back down without a fight. All right, so we'll do the chorus and then just a couple verses and we'll rock out the night. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doge is to blame for this mess that they cannot contain. Under cover of night, they tried to take all our rights. But we won't back down without a fight. Oh, give me a home where democracy roams and we value all government work. With no forks in the road or forced retirement woes, and our country has not gone berserk. Oh, Doge is to blame for this mess that they cannot contain. Under cover of night, they tried to take all our rights, but we won't back down without a fight. Now OPM says you can sign up and pledge to retire and just walk away from job security into uncertainty. That's what Elon calls efficiency. Oh, Doge is to blame for this mess that they cannot contain. Under cover of night, they tried to take all our rights, but we won't back down without a fight. No, we won't back down without a fight. Hey, good job, everybody. All right, and the amazing Michael is coming to the stage. Yep.
Hello, everyone. My name's Michael Beer. I'm the director of Nonviolence International and a member of the Movement Infrastructure crew that helped put this together. I'm going to be speaking for about 10 minutes here about my recent trip, the month of March, to Israel, Palestine, Jordan, and Syria. And the reason why this is important here today and for our Solidarity City is because we have a very, very corrupt government, unfortunately, and our corrupt government is doing very bad things around the world, in part because of the billionaires here who are paying them off and the multinational corporations that are driving U.S. policies around the world. And so we're going to be focusing a whole lot in the next 20 days on corruption here in the United States and how the billionaires are trying to steal our government and our society and destroy our government and privatize it so that they can make a whole lot of money. And this is kind of disaster capitalism on steroids, and this is what the billionaires are up to. This is not just a U.S. project. There are essentially billionaires here and around the world who are really waging war on our societies. And so I went on a trip in particular to this part of the world that's sometimes called Middle East, but this is really an antiquated term. We should probably be calling it West Asia. Middle East is a term that really is a reference to Europe and where this area stands in regards to Europe. But the world does not revolve around Europe, and so I think it's best to be talking about this part of the world as West Asia, Southwest Asia, or the Levant. And this is an area where the United States in particular has had a very, very ugly track record, and today is in the business of supporting a genocide in Gaza. I use the G word not because I'm an international expert on genocide, but I'm a believer in the International Court of Justice. I'm a believer in international law, and if we're ever going to help save this planet from killing ourselves and destroying ourselves, we're going to have to agree to some minimal ground rules that the whole world is going to agree to. And one of those ground rules is that genocide really is not acceptable. And what's going on in Gaza today, they haven't had water or food or electricity since March 2nd. Today is what, April 21st? Is that right? So we're talking about more than a month and a half of no food and water for more than 2 million people. And this is being done with the active support of the United States. And it's shameful and it's disgraceful, and it has to stop now. Every single day. Imagine the suffering. This doesn't talk about the additional fact that the Israelis are killing 50 to 100 people a day, overwhelmingly civilian, many of them small children. And so I went to the area as a visitor, as a tourist, but also to look at some of the projects that my organization supports and in the area. And I'll just give you a brief thumbnail of what I saw. I was unfortunately not able, and nobody's able to get into Gaza. Of course, Gaza is an open-air prison and nobody can get out. So I was not able to visit Gaza, but the whole world has been seeing what's going on there. And I just ask you not to forget about Gaza, even though it's been going on now, for decades and in a very severe form since a year and a half. Please do not forget Gaza. We've got to stop this genocide now. I went to the West Bank, where I spent time in Masafriata, which is the exact location of the No Other Land film documentary that won the Oscars. And I was actually there on the Monday after Sunday night when it was awarded, and the whole community was absolutely deliriously happy. These people are mostly shepherds communities. They live in the hills of the South Hebron Hills with very low wealth, and they live next to these squatter towns. Some people call them settlements. I call them squatter towns, where Israelis come and they live in these very large single-family homes that have swimming pools and lawns in a semi-desert area. And they live next to these communities that have been already displaced many times and live in practically tents, in some cases, other cases just some concrete houses. And I went there to meet with the local folks, to encourage them, to support them in their resistance to stay on their land. The Israelis are trying to kick everybody off these lands. They're doing so through these squatter towns, but in the last 5 years, they've started to do something new. They've really been trying to take over vast quantities of land through agricultural expropriation. And so they'll put a little house on the top of a hill, put a lot of barbed wire around it, and then they will run a Israeli shepherd who will have his sheep, his sheep, run around the areas that for hundreds of thousands of years have been shepherded by Palestinians and their ancestors, and taking over the lands that the Palestinians have used for their sheep and goats for a very long time, and making it impossible really for these Palestinian communities to survive. They've also been doing agricultural expropriation by putting up vineyards on vast quantities of land. This is a way to take up a lot of the water and a lot of the land in a much more quick way than expensive squatter towns. So this is a fairly recent development. They're on their way to expropriating most of the land of the West Bank, which they call Area C, and it's most of the area that's the breadbasket, most of the area where there's the water, and they're going to, and only has 5% of the Palestinians live there in these areas. And when you look at a map, you'll just see Israel is on its way to annexing most of the West Bank, and there are these little Bantustans or little ghettos that I visited in Palestine. And this is where Palestinians live and suffer greatly. They're under tremendous pressure all the time. It's very segregated society, very, very apartheid-like roads. There are roads for Palestinians and there are roads for Israelis. And they have different license plates, so they know which folks are in which cars and which trucks. And the Palestinians are just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. There are more than 1,000 checkpoints all over the West Bank, and so even their communities and their neighborhoods are split off from each other, and they can't go to church or they can't go to mosque, can't go to school. There are all kinds of challenges. If you want to go to the hospital, tough luck. If you have to wait at the checkpoint for 4 hours and you have to give birth right there in the taxi at the checkpoint, tough. Or if you die at the checkpoint, which happens all the time. This happens, unfortunately, every day in Palestine. So it's a very severe apartheid situation. And all I can say is that the Palestinians I met were just absolutely remarkable in their resilience and why they're not stir crazy and why they just don't want to kill all Israelis. And I can't understand how they have the fortitude to keep their humanity, and they're struggling every day to keep their humanity. Nabon's International was among many, many, many international groups that is sending tourists and solidarity activists to co-resist with the Palestinians. We're not there to go and be heroes. We're there to go support and follow their leadership and do what we can to try to prevent the attacks which come every day in the form of militia. Basically, there's no distinction anymore between the squatter camp people and the soldiers. They're all operating like militia, and they're all attacking the Palestinians around the clock. And they'll bulldoze their homes, and they'll smash their cars, and they're killing their goats and sheep, and they're arresting them all the time, and they're so I was going there just to try to provide some solidarity and support, and honestly, they gave me a lot of hope, because these folks, they've been resisting, many of them for at least 75 years or more, since 1948, 77 years when many of them were kicked out. And they're still resisting, and their grandkids, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and they continue to organize, and they continue to keep their humanity. And so our government is responsible so much for the weaponry and the political support for Israel to engage in this horrific genocide and apartheid in this country. And we've got to stop it. We have got to stop it. And I would encourage, they asked for at least one thing. Obviously, they want us to try to stop our government from doing this. They also asked in the near term, they want all of us here in the States and around the world to go to Palestine. Go and visit. I was not at much risk as an American, as a foreigner there. You would think the Palestinians would hate all Americans and would treat us badly, but I was warmly welcomed everywhere I went. And go there as a tourist. You don't have to be a solidarity tourist. You can just go to the Bethlehem if you're a Christian and you want to see the birthplace of Jesus. It was empty. They need the money. They need the business. If you want to do solidarity tourism, there are lots of ways to do that. There are lots of groups that are going that you can sign on to. But they need people to go to Palestine and see for yourself. Once you see apartheid, you will never forget it. You cannot unsee it. And so go. I assure you, you will not, if you choose not to, you're not going to be at any greater risk than you will be here in Washington, D.C. So go, go, go. They need us to go. They're asking us to go either alone or go with your friends. So that's a 10-minute shtick about what's going on. I should come back to the beginning, which is that where does the corruption come into this? Well, our government is substantially controlled by Christian Zionists and AIPAC. And Christian Zionists here have a very bizarre worldview in which they support the Israeli extermination of the Christians in Palestine, which is a very strange kind of concept. And we have AIPAC, which is the American Israeli Political Action Committee, which is one of the biggest funders on Capitol Hill and in the political system, electoral system of the United States. And AIPAC has substantially bought Democrats and Republicans, along with the Christian Zionists, for generations. And we've got to stop the AIPAC and their corrupt money from creating these horrifying policies that the U.S. is part of. We also need to talk about the weapons manufacturers. They're making lots and lots of money manufacturing all these weapons that are tested on the guinea pigs of the Palestinians, who seem to be the first people to experience many of these new weapons that the United States has invented. And so with the billions and billions of dollars that the U.S. Government gives to Israel and the weaponry that we give to Israel, we are responsible here. All of us, our taxpayers, are responsible for killing and maiming tens of thousands of people in Gaza and in Palestine. So we've got a very corrupt electoral system. Unfortunately, we need people power to overcome it. We need election reform, which is another topic that we will come back to in the next 20 days that folks will talk about. We need to get money out of politics so that we can prevent the corporations and the billionaires from controlling our government. And we also need proportional representation and major election reform so we can get away from the duopoly government that we have right now. So with that said, I'll finish up my talk now. Maybe I'll come back and talk about Syria some other time, in which the U.S. needs to change its policies there as well. But just please join us every night here. We're going to have really, really excellent speakers talking about all kinds of issues that are vital for the American people. And these are going to be broadcast again on the internet, and they're going to be reach very large audiences. So please, every night for the next 20 days, we're going to build the momentum, and we're going to really pull together the many, many facets of corruption that the billionaires are putting forward to destroy our government and our Constitution. Thank you for your attention.
Michael, thank you. That was very powerful, and we can't be afraid to speak the truth, right? And what you said about visiting and seeing it with your own eyes, I had a similar experience back in 2005, and that's why I'm a staunch opponent of apartheid and what's happening right now, because I saw it. And that was back in 2005. You know, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now, and it was the West Bank, and it wasn't Gaza, but I saw it, and nobody can convince me that it's not apartheid and it's not ethnic cleansing. So if anyone's interested in traveling to Palestine, I assume they can speak to Michael, and he can tell you about how he did it and other organizations that do it. Abi, are we ready to change tacks a little bit and talk about Schedule F? So one of the reasons we wanted to do Solidarity City is to provide services for our community members who may have worked for the federal government or for contractors and who are now facing unemployment because of the cruel policies of the Trump-Musk regime. And Schedule F is one of those policies that are affecting federal workers. Of course, we know there are many federal workers in the DC area. Schedule F is back, and I'm glad Abi, I'm sorry, I did it again. Abi is here to tell us about it. I mean, I'm not happy it exists, but I'm glad Abi is here, even though I keep mispronouncing their name.
Thank you, Helen. So we're back here again, or I'm back here again. I was just up here yesterday talking to you about the Federal Unionists Network, and I listed a bunch of calls to action for you to get involved in the broader labor movement. And tonight I'm here with one more. But this one's actually something you can do from the comfort of your own home. It doesn't actually require you to go out on the street and hold up a sign and, you know, through rain or high heat. This one's actually interesting. In this, I'm going to talk about public comment. Something that I learned about when I became a federal worker with the CFPB, where I am an economist and I work on what are called rulemakings. You might know them otherwise as regulations. So, all right, let me back up. So Schedule F, right? So Schedule F, you may have heard about that during the first Trump administration. So it's now come back as a regulation that's going to be put out by the OPM. What's OPM? Personnel Management, right? So they proposed this rulemaking a few days ago, and it's going to be open for public comment. Now, okay, actually, I'm getting this backwards. Let me tell you about Schedule F. It's bad. I thought about writing my own words to it, but then I read their own words, and it's actually much better. So here, let me read the summary statement of the proposed rule. This is their words. The Office of Personnel Management is proposing a rule to increase career employee accountability. Agency supervisors report great difficulty removing employees for poor performance or misconduct. The proposed rule lets policy influencing positions be moved into schedule policy/career. These positions will remain career jobs filled on a non-partisan basis. Yet, okay, so this is the part that you need to pay attention to. Yet they will be at-will positions accepted from adverse action procedures or appeals. This will allow agencies to quickly remove employees from critical positions who engage in misconduct, perform poorly, and this is the part that's like really should concern you, or undermine the democratic process by intentionally subverting presidential directives. So you all know what that's about. And so that should concern you. Concerns me. I am deeply bothered, and I think this is not a good idea. So if you study the history of the civil service, you know that civil service didn't always look the way it does now, and they think it's a good idea to return to the way things used to be. Now, I can tell you from growing up in the Philippines, where pretty much the entire government is just patronage politics, that the way we have it here, for as many complaints as you may have about the current system, going back to what we used to have, not a good idea. So we have to pay attention to this, because, you know, DOGE is not the only way that this administration is trying to destroy federal government and remake it into its own, monstrosity. So here's the good part, though. We are not powerless. We, the public, are not powerless. This proposed rule, they're going to publish it in what's called the Federal Register. So you can view this on regulations.gov. And what's great is that, and I didn't know this before I became a federal worker, is that when regulations like this get proposed, we, the people, have an opportunity to weigh in. We get to submit our own comments. You don't have to lawyer up. You get to write your own comments. And here's the good part. They have to consider your comments. They have to respond to your comments, as long as they make sense, right? So as long as they're what's called substantive comments. And if they don't consider substantive comments, which, by the way, form public record, right? They're on regulations.gov. You get a notification that you submitted a public comment, right? All of that makes it easy for whoever has, the time, money, effort to sue when this is a bad idea, which it is. Your comments provide ammunition for that. And so it's important that we exercise our right to comment on these proposals. And by the way, this is true of Schedule F, but it's true of anything that you see on regulations.gov. So, if I finally have to start doing my job, I will do a different job, which is camp out on regulations.gov and exercise my right. I'm not going to wait for an election. I'll vote when elections are there. But in the meantime, I'm camping out and commenting on whatever I can provide useful comment on. All right. So, federal unions, allies of federal workers, the Federal Unionists Network, I can provide an update that we're all trying to organize around this. This is something that just happened a couple days ago. It's not even on the Federal Register yet. I think it'll come out tomorrow or on Wednesday. And so a lot of people are developing arguments around this. It's a long document to digest. I checked, it was like 144 pages. And so in order to submit comments that they have to respond to, we have to digest and understand them, and experts will weigh in. And so this is going to be an all-out effort to digest whatever crap they've come out with so that we can formulate arguments in response. So organizations like the Federal Unionists Network, and I anticipate other similar organizations, will be putting out guidance on this. So what you can do in the meantime, read the proposal. Read the proposal. We don't have that much time to act on this. We have 30 days from the time that they put out the proposal. So 30 days for us to read the proposal, figure out how we feel about it, right? Because I fully plan to rely, to base my comment on what experts are saying and other organizations. But, I may also have my own thoughts about this and my personal experience to bear on this, right? Because what this is going to do is it's going to make it a lot easier to get rid of I think the latest numbers are 50,000 federal workers, and they're going to be spread out across really important federal agencies. So your personal experience, you can bring to bear on this issue. Right, so read the proposal and figure out what from your personal experience is important here. Right, so like the more unique your comment is, the more they have to respond to it. What else? You should tell your family and friends about it. You know, tell everyone about it. Don't just let it be you submitting comments, right? Like I'm seeing a few people here. You know, I invite you to get, I don't know, maybe I'm not being ambitious enough, but like get 20 people. That should be easy enough between family and friends, at least 20 people, right? So I'm thinking your family, your close friends. If you're in a church, tell your church about it. If you're in a labor union, do that. If you're in a kickball team, tell your teammates about it. I don't know, but you know, tell your barista, tell your bartender, because this is, you know, this is such a good opportunity for us to weigh in on what the government is doing, and they have to respond. And yeah, prepare to write your own comments. Pay attention to what the fund or other organizations that will be putting out guidance on this, pay attention to them, right? Amplify their arguments and make them your own, because this is going to happen really quickly. There's only 30 days between now and when the comment deadline passes. So, yeah. So let me, again, try to land the plane. Because this is bad news. Again, this is really bad news. And we can look at this as doom, or we can look at this as an opportunity, especially if you've not organized before. This is going to be way easier than organizing, you know, talking a bunch of risk-averse people to go to a protest action on the mall, or, you know, go picketing outside Tesla, right? This is just about telling people about a bad policy and giving them instructions on how to write about it. And, you know, that can be your first step towards being an organizer.
Yeah, we want more organizers.
And maybe your other friends will also become organizers, right? Don't just invite them to write comment, invite them to invite other people to invite comment. So, that's all I got. An easier call to action than what I had yesterday.
I'll be for president. Okay, I'm about to let you go, but I want to close out like we did yesterday, or maybe we didn't close out with this, but yesterday we started a lovely tradition where we had a couple of people say who they're grateful for among either organizers or audience members, people involved in this effort. And I will start and then pass it over to y'all. I am extremely grateful for Michael and Abby because at 6:45 I was very frantic about not having enough programming, and they stepped up, and I'm very thankful for that. So anyone else want to call out who they're grateful for, and then we can all go home? Bill is grateful for me, which I appreciate. Why, Bill? Tell me how great I am. For helping to pull all this together. Thank you so much. Anyone else who wants to be grateful for someone who is not me? Yeah, James.